And as Fox 17's national correspondent Christine Frizzell shows us, this so-called narrow ruling could turn out to be anything but. Now,
today's episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Stay tuned to learn how you can use my code FundieFridays for 83% off a 2-year plan. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Jen, and this is Fundie Fridays. The mowing and the construction sounds and any other interruptions that we have today are a wonderful metaphor for how Hobby Lobby is intruding on our rights and freedoms. So just let that be an ever-present, annoying, droning reminder. Today we are going to be talking about the American craft store Hobby Lobby as it relates to Christian fundamentalism while I do my makeup. And this week's episode was actually chosen by my lovely patron. If you would like to be able to pick episode topics as well as, support me financially for only $3 a month, you can be a part of the official Fundie Fridays fan club. Hobby Lobby represents a very specific kind of American evangelical capitalism. It is, of course, part of the trinity of fundamentalist businesses that consists of Chick-fil-A, Hobby Lobby, and Country Bob's for some reason. Huh? Jesus is their CEO. Can't blame them. If you're not American, you might feel like the idea of a Christian-owned and operated craft store by itself is a crazy concept. You're not wrong. But know that as with any other fusion of Christ and capitalism that we've seen, this organization is fully corrupted and in some instances downright criminal. This organization has smuggled priceless artifacts under false pretenses and challenged reproductive rights all the way to the Supreme Court. It sounds downright made up. I mean, even the first part is like half the plot of National Treasure. You know what isn't made up? The protection that you can get from Surfshark VPN. I have several videos that have been blocked in many countries due to copyright issues, and one way to watch them is to trick your computer into thinking that you are in a different country. One of the ways that you can do that is with Surfshark VPN. So yes, Mary, you were right. This whole thing is a ploy to get you to sign up to Surfshark and use my code FundieFridays for 83% off a 2-year plan. Surfshark provides a whole bunch of VPN services for a low, low price. You can use it for shopping online or paying bills or pretty much anywhere where you don't want your information to be tracked. And something that I didn't even know that they offered until I signed up for Surfshark was they have a really great ad blocker. And let me tell you that it actually works to combat ads on a lot of websites that have been whitelisted by certain other ad blockers that we will not name. Surfshark's clean web lets me look up all the articles and info I need to make content without having to deal with the ads, trackers, and other nasties out there trying to get my data. Their strict no logs policy mean that I never have to worry about them tracking my data and selling it off later. If you're in the market to upgrade your internet security, I highly recommend Surfshark, and if you do, make sure to go to surfshark.deals/FundieFridays and use my code FundieFridays, all one word, at checkout for 83% off a 2-year plan, which is a huge deal, and you get 3 extra months for free. By going through my link, you will help out the channel, and you will also help out yourself because you're going to get an awesome deal and you're going to have internet security. Surfshark really is an awesome company, and you can think of them lovingly as you're watching this video, which is about a shitty company. Before we get started, I'm not going to shame anybody for shopping in Hobby Lobby, nor am I going to shame them for working there. I will warn you, it's probably not the best place to work, but my job is to shame the founders. Although personally, I prefer to shop at Michael's because that is the gayest craft store. Joann's Fabrics is asexual. I will not be taking questions at this time. David Green, the founder of Hobby Lobby, was born November 13th, 1941 in Oklahoma. Hobby Lobby is family owned and operated. Green's son Stephen is the president of Hobby Lobby, and he is also in charge of the Bible Museum that we will talk about later. And his eldest son Mart is the founder and CEO of Mardell Christian and Education Bookstore. Mardell was apparently established for the equipping of the saints for the work of service to the building up of the body of Christ, quoting St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians. I have absolutely no plans for this makeup look, but you know what? It's actually turning out pretty awesome. As a youth, Green joined the Air Force Reserve, and he served for a little bit before marrying his high school sweetheart, Barbara, who is now his wife, who has visions. We'll get to that. Green worked at TG&Y's, which is a 5-and-dime store, which is kind of like a dollar store of yesteryear. Borrowing $600 to buy equipment, Green teamed up with another store manager in 1970. They started to manufacture miniature picture frames. The Green family kitchen table was soon converted into a makeshift factory, with everybody in the family, including the children, helping out to produce these cheap items so that they could mark them up. It's not a perfect cut crease, but I think it looks really cool. Apparently they made a killing in those beginning days by selling beads to hippies, and I didn't make that up. That really happened. I mean, beyond all this, Hobby Lobby does serve a purpose in society. I mean, where else are we supposed to get live, laugh, love tchotchkes for our racist grandmas? With 520 superstores in 42 states, Green and his family own 100% of the company, and he ranks number 79 on Forbes' list of the 400 richest Americans with an estimated net worth of $4.5 billion. Hobby Lobby's cash spigot currently makes him the largest individual donor to evangelical causes in America. Green and his family are proud evangelicals, coming from a family of first and second generation preachers. He says you can't have a belief system on Sunday and not live it the other 6 days of the week.
We believe that the principles that are taught scripturally are what we should operate our lives by, and so it naturally flows over into the business.
Hobby Lobby is run with as much religious influence as legally possible. They challenge this all the time. In fact, Green says that if you have anything or if I have anything, it's because it's been given to us by our Creator, says Green. So I have learned to say, look, this is yours, God. It's all yours. I'm going to give it to you. And I'm not wearing any foundation until I order more of my actual proper color from ColourPop. Hobby Lobby really does try to run its business on so-called biblical principles, such as not being open on Sundays, playing Christian music in the store, hiring chaplains that are there for, not necessarily to convert employees, but they're not there to convert employees. I would like to know that we have brought as many people to know Christ as we possibly can. We hope to continue to just grow our company. As long as there's someone on this earth that doesn't know Jesus Christ, we have a job to do. The company stresses that the beliefs of its owners are not forced upon employees in any way, but says that it offers a path to religion for those who want it. Green said 4 years ago that hundreds of employees had been converted, including more than a dozen managers in a single year. We prayed a prayer with them, and we did have 15 managers to come to know Christ in the business place, he said. So that's another weird thing. Hobby Lobby does not have barcodes, and Green says that's for old-timey reasons, like, oh, we don't want the employees to have to rely on computers to know the prices. But some people have pointed out that it might be because there are certain sects of Christianity that believe that barcodes are satanic. So, which is more likely? Hobby Lobby is so enmeshed with American evangelical Christianity that it's become a political statement just to get your crafts there. Green likes to brag that he pays his employees 90% above minimum wage, but that highly coveted $15 salary is only for managers. From what I saw on Indeed, $11 is the starting wage for like the lowest rung of employee. Another thing that's very common when you start any job is signing a mountain of paperwork. That's pretty normal, except Hobby Lobby likes to sneak in this weird Christian arbitration agreement. This agreement, which all Hobby Lobby employees are required to sign, forces employees to resolve legal disputes outside of court through a process known as arbitration. One thing that sets apart Hobby Lobby's arbitration policy from most corporations is its allowance for Christian-influenced arbitration. Mutual arbitration agreement that people sign gives employees the option of choosing to find an arbitrator either through the nonprofit American Arbitration Association, the largest dispute resolution service provider in the United States, or the Institute for Christian Conciliation. Arbitration has many benefits. It is usually vastly cheaper than litigation and often allows parties to stave off potential reputational damage by settling disputes in private. These agreements are more commonly used by corporations in consumer product agreements. The practice has garnered widespread criticism as being less fair for employees. Companies like Hobby Lobby claim that arbitration is better for both parties because it tends to take less time and money, and usually employers are required to cover employees' legal fees. Alex Colvin, a professor of conflict resolution at Cornell University, told Rewire that corporations generally institute an arbitration-only policy out of fear of widespread lawsuits and to keep information on disputes out of the public eye. I think it's an interesting confluence here with Hobby Lobby being in the news with that big case. But if that were an employment case where an employee wanted to make a claim, we would never see that case at the Supreme Court because it would be stayed in arbitration. So ironically, Hobby Lobby gets to go to the Supreme Court because they want to challenge this, but their own employees don't get to go to court. This arbitration stuff became kind of a big deal in 2010. There was this person who was hired as a part-time cashier. After they started the job, they learned that they were pregnant, and because they had not been working very long, this person did not qualify for FMLA. They asked their supervisor if they were going to be fired for being pregnant and only having 5 months before they had the baby, and the boss said no. Then, when they had their baby and they took their leave of absence, the supervisor told them that they would be terminated, but could reapply later on. So then they applied later after they had their baby, and they were refused. Hobby Lobby did not respond to multiple requests to tell their side of the story or to answer questions about its maternity leave and other company policies. When this person applied for unemployment benefits, they said Hobby Lobby's corporate office gave the unemployment agency a false version of events, claiming that she could have taken off personal leave but chose not to. In the end, they got their employment benefits, but they felt like they had been wrongly discriminated based on the fact that they were pregnant. So in February 2012, she sued Hobby Lobby, but her lawsuit was swiftly dropped because they had signed that arbitration agreement. And come 2020, when we were all taken over by coronavirus, of course, Hobby Lobby had something to say.
To all the wonderful employees of Hobby Lobby and Mardell, this country has experienced several calamities and disruptions of the past century, from world wars and terrorist attacks to financial crises and pandemics. While the current COVID-19 virus has been added to that list and is certainly concerning and disruptive, I have every confidence that we, as a country and company, will sustain and thrive again soon. My and Barbara's confidence and comfort comes in large part from knowing that you are part of our Hobby Lobby family. In my family, Barbara is the prayer warrior. Today, that title takes on such a different meaning than I ever imagined before because we're at war with this latest virus. To quote the late Dr. Billy Graham, we are to pray in times of adversity, lest we become faithless and unbelieving. We are to pray in times of prosperity, lest we become boastful and proud. We are to pray in times of danger, lest we become fearful and doubting. We are to pray in times of security, lest we become self-sufficient. In her quiet prayer time this past week, the Lord put on Barbara's heart 3 profound words to remind us that He's in control. Guide, guard, and groom. We serve a God who will guide us through this storm, who will guard us as we travel to places never seen before, and who, as a result of this experience, will groom us to be better than we could have ever thought possible before now. God has blessed this company with so much. His blessings and the fruit of all your hard work have made it possible for the company to not only operate without significant amounts of debt, but for the past decade to maintain wages and benefits that have far exceeded most retailers. Many retailers are not as fortunate and are instead saddled with what may be overwhelming debt. While we do not know for certain what the future holds or how long this disruption will last, we can all rest in knowing that God is in control. The company leaders are doing all they can to balance the need to keep the company strong and the needs of employees. To help ensure our company remains strong and prepared to prosper once again when this passes, we may all have to, quote-unquote, tighten our belts over the near future. We have always been the most successful arts and crafts retailer in the country, and because of you, we will continue to be. Our statement of purpose from the beginning of our company is as relevant today as it was in 1972. We believe that it is by God's grace and provision that the company has endured. He has been faithful in the past, and we trust Him for our future. Again, I cannot adequately express how much I appreciate each one of you.
They kept their non-essential craft business open because Green's wife had a prophetic vision from God. Okay. David Green and Hobby Lobby donate a lot of their money to charities, with the caveat being that those charities are actually hate groups. The Greens have been called the Koch brothers of the evangelical movement. Green has donated lots of buildings and land and money to his different buddies, including Oral Roberts University and Liberty University with our buddy Jerry Jr. Hobby Lobby takes half of total pre-tax earnings and plunges it it directly into a portfolio of evangelical ministries. Green keeps the total amount of his charitable contributions private, but based on the information received from him and discussion with various recipients, Forbes magazine estimates his lifetime giving at upwards of $500 million. Green has since spent over $300 million donating about 50 properties. The word is out. Ministries approach him constantly with proposals for their new church or Christian community center. Only 1 in 10 is chosen. He won't help them unless they pass a doctrinal vetting process, which includes questions about the virgin birth. Even well-known pastor Rick Warren needed to pass Green's muster before the billionaire handed his Saddleback Church a 170-acre ranch property last August to use as a retreat. And to further prove that all of these fundamentalists are connected in this giant cinematic universe, Green's actually sold Bill Gothard of IBLP a 2,000-acre campus for his Big Sandy conference, and he did this for $10, which may indicate that there might have been something sketchy financially going on. He also donated a aircraft hangar and a landing strip, as well as a 500,000 square foot building in Little Rock, Arkansas, and a campus in New Zealand. Since Green keeps a lot of his donations secret and doesn't donate directly to these hate groups, he feels like it's okay. But what's really happening is he's donating a lot of money to the far-right evangelical National Christian Foundation, which I admit sounds like a made-up name. It sounds like the Human Fund. The National Christian Foundation offers Christian donors expert guidance and creative giving solutions. It is the 4th largest donor-advised fund by 2017 revenue in the U.S., having raised over $1.5 billion that year. Such funds offer individual accounts to their clients, allowing clients to get immediate tax breaks on donations to these accounts, and to offer NCF to disperse the money to nonprofits of their choice, mostly churches and other Christian nonprofits, at their own pace. Clients donate through donor-advised funds anonymously, so even the IRS doesn't know their identities. By far the biggest recipient of NCF donations is Alliance Defending Freedom, a large network of Christian extremist lawyers who have supported criminalizing homosexuality, sterilizing transgender people, and claiming that gay men are pedophiles. This group recently came out against the Congressional Democrats' Equality Act, which would ban discrimination against LGBTQ Americans. NCF also has ties to the Family Research Council, giving them over $500 million. If the FRC name sounds familiar, that's because Josh Duggar used to be the executive director of FRC Action.
You know, a lot of you might not understand that the birth control pill does cause abortions. I mean, one part of it, or 2 parts of it, are there to prevent prevent pregnancy, but the 3rd part of it actually causes abortions. And when did you first learn about that?
Well, you know, I've done a limited amount. I've done some research on the abortion, on the abortion-causing drugs, and there's a lot of them out there. And I think people are shocked to understand what this really is about. And I think when you look at taking of innocent, unborn human life, it takes on so many forms nowadays. The most pervasive of which is the things that people know about. But I think when you look at what these young women are faced with, what these women who are in the place where they have to make a decision, it's not easy. But when you realize that your faith in God is bigger than any situation, you can go to that and you can say, here's what I have before me. Here's a choice that I have to make. And I think what we're doing as organizations, and what we're doing is we're standing with these, is we're saying, you need to be able to make that choice to say, you know what, I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to take a stand, and I'm not going to back down from that.
Even though Hobby Lobby's 401k mutual funds have been invested into companies that manufacture emergency contraceptives, they decided to do a 180 for some reason and were suddenly against paying for birth control. Probably because a lot of fundies think that Obama is the Antichrist. Several of the mutual funds in Hobby Lobby's retirement plan have stock holdings in companies that manufacture the specific drugs and devices that the Green family, who owns Hobby Lobby, are fighting to keep out of Hobby Lobby's healthcare policies. The emergency contraceptive pills Plan B and Ella, and copper and hormonal intrauterine devices. The Greens' contention that the pills cause abortions is a central pillar of their argument for gutting the contraception mandate. Yet, for years, Hobby Lobby's health insurance plans did cover Plan B and Ella. It was only in 2012, when the Greens considered filing a lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act, they dropped these drugs from the plan. In a highly publicized Supreme Court hearing, reproductive rights took a huge L, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby.
As with many cases decided by the Supreme Court, the Hobby Lobby case may prove to be less of an answer to a question and instead give rise to many more.
Separate church and state!
Now people on both sides of the ruling are wondering, what's next? David Gans with the Constitutional Accountability Center says this could chip away at several aspects of the Affordable Health Care law.
Although the opinion says it's narrow, its reasoning is essentially similar to that of Citizens United, that corporations are essentially just the embodiments of its owners.
He says if that's the case, new challenges will no doubt be around the corner, with some related cases already making their way through lower courts. Gans also cited Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in her dissent, who wrote, "Would the exemption extend to employers with religiously grounded objections to blood transfusions, antidepressants, medications derived from pigs, including anesthesia, and vaccinations?" While some are saying the Supreme Court's decision undermines the Affordable Health Care law, the same Supreme Court ruled that it did pass constitutional muster. Now the government is looking for ways to provide contraception to employees whose companies won't. Many legal experts argue the Affordable Care Act is just the beginning for what may change as a result of the Hobby Lobby decision.
The ripple effect of this could be significant, far beyond the ACA. The government would be in a position of having to accommodate religious beliefs across the board. This wouldn't just stop at health care.
In the last few months, we've seen lots of claims by conservatives that there should be exemptions to civil rights laws that protect gay and lesbians from discrimination.
He says this ruling could put the court's stamp on those types of arguments as well.
We've seen this time and time again. Cases like Kim Davis of 2015, the county clerk who refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses, or Masterpiece Cake Shop in 2018, the owner of which abused his First Amendment rights by refusing to make a gay wedding cake, and he took this all the way to the Supreme Court as well. This whole time, the Greens were collecting these smuggled antiquities for their own private collection, and in 2017, they turned this into a museum. It is notable that they serve kosher food in the cafeteria. The Green family did not invent the idea of smuggling looted antiquities, but they sure enjoyed it. They exploited legal loopholes that allowed them to do it. They wanted cool-looking artifacts from Bible times, and they didn't care that they were destroying cultural sites, funding terrorist groups, and ruining any chance that historians could have to help us gain context from these items. Experts have suggested that the actions of Hobby Lobby are not innocent. In fact, before doing this, the Greens had sought the advice of a leading expert on cultural property law in 2010 and proceeded to ignore her warnings. If you really wanted to simulate Bible times, you could just use the papyrus font. You didn't have to loot things. Once they got all these tablets, they shared them with their fellow evangelicals and sent some to the Creation Museum run by none other than Ken Ham. I have made an episode about Ken Ham. You can check it out. It's really weird. It also seems that he's obsessed with David Green, really wants to be his buddy. From his social media presence. And, you know, he's a real corrupt scholar himself, and, you know, he's just thinking about these cuneiform tablets like, that belongs in a Creation Museum. Remember those cuneiform tablets? The U.S. government remembers. The name of this case is really funny. The United States of America versus approximately 450 ancient cuneiform tablets and approximately 3,000 ancient clay bullae.
The Department of Justice has ordered one of the nation's largest craft stores to hand over illegally acquired artifacts from Iraq. Hobby Lobby will now have to pay a $3 million fine after buying more than 5,500 rare tablets and bricks. That's nearly double what the company paid for them, which is valued at nearly $12 million.
And of course, Hobby Lobby is a Christian company, and they run their organization consistent with biblical principles. So when they want to start collecting, it's not surprising that they were seeking out Bibles, manuscripts, and other sort of biblical antiquities. They say they wanted to amass a collection that they could share with students and scholars and maybe even share with some museums.
So not unusual to collect, but where did they go wrong?
Well, Dana, there's two different stories. Hobby Lobby says that they were new to this and they didn't fully appreciate the complexities of buying these kinds of artifacts. They also say that they have relied heavily on the dealers and the shippers, who they say also did not really understand how to properly label them. But the Justice Department and the court documents tell a much different story. In fact, the Justice Department says a lot of these transactions were, quote, fraught with red flags. In fact, Hobby Lobby actually hired an expert who specifically told them whenever you are buying anything that came from Iraq, you have to be super careful to make sure that you establish and verify who originally owned these, and be very careful how you bring it into the United States. You could potentially commit a crime. And according to the court documents, the president of the company and a consultant traveled to the United Arab Emirates to inspect these items. And when they went there, they said they were very sort of informally displayed. They never actually spoke spoke with the person who allegedly owned them, and when it was time to pay for the items, they relied on a third party who told them to wire money to several other people. So despite all these red flags, Dana, they still bought 5,000 items. And it's just unclear, was this a rookie mistake or was it just ignoring all of these red flags? Ultimately, they were able to settle the case with the Justice Department. But again, two different explanations for what exactly happened here.
And even if it is that rookie mistake, the ignorance doesn't mean that you're not liable for what has happened.
Exactly. I still find the whole concept of Hobby Lobby as hard to believe. The sheer audacity that this family had to challenge the Supreme Court because they wanted to virtue signal how Christian their craft store is, that's ridiculous. Can you imagine any other religion owning a huge business and involving itself weirdly in politics? The only people challenging religious freedom to this extent are the Satanic Temple. But you don't see them starting a chain of Baphomet statue stores and then suing the government because they wouldn't let them pay the employees $6.66 an hour. Because that's how stupid this Hobby Lobby shit sounds to me. In conclusion, work there if you want, shop there, I don't care. The only thing I ask is that if you're gonna shop online, be safe. So use Surfshark VPN and my code Fundie Fridays. And that'll get you 83% off a 2-year plan, so don't say I never did nothing for you. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and consensually smash that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell icon if you would like to be notified when I upload, because it seems to be random at this point. I'm all over social media, and we also have the Agenda Night Forum on Discord. The link to that is in my Instagram. Oh my gosh, guys, I can't believe I forgot to tell you about my merch. So first, we've got the classic Fundie Fridays logo here, and that's available on t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, and hoodie form. We have the wonderful Idle Hands of the Devil Fleshlights t-shirt that is based on a joke from the People of Praise video. It's a bestseller. We also have Overweight Sexually Broken Loser, a not so subtle, maybe satirical take on a girl-defined type belief. And then new to the family is, of course, the Limp Bizkit University t-shirt, and that is for all of us who want to celebrate our graduation from this wonderful program. Of course, that was led by Professor Fred Durst and his 12 gender theory, so go ahead and check that out today. It is on Bonfire. The link is in the info box below. I hope you all have a very blessed day, and just remember to keep on rolling, baby. Is it over? Is the mowing over, Papa?